Second day of working with rational numbers and multiplying and dividing. So today we're going to review through the rules for multiplying and dividing of decimal numbers. Whenever you multiply decimal numbers, you do not have to line up the decimals. You'll line up the numbers on the right-hand side and then multiply as normal. In the end, when you have your final digit answer, you'll count the number of decimal spaces in your original factors, and that's how many decimal places should be behind your decimal. So for example, for this problem, I have 30.9 times 0.2. I oftentimes will go ahead and look at this as 309 times 2. Now, you can eliminate zeros, but take note that I did not eliminate the zero that fell between this 3 and 9, and that's because it's in between two non-zero numbers. I could eliminate this 0 because it was not a placeholder. It was just basically holding the place of that there was nothing in the ones place. So now if I go through and I multiply, 2 times 9 is 18, carry the 1. 2 times 0 plus 1 gives me 1, and 2 times 3 is 6. So I just found out that I have 618 for the digit portion of it. I'm now going to go back and look at my original numbers to see where my decimal place should go. So when I look at this, I have 2 numbers total behind the decimal. So I'm going to go to my answer and I'm going to count from the back 2 places, 1, 2, and place my decimal. So my final answer here would be 6.18. That is something that is a review. What's new today is if we had added maybe a negative to one of these numbers or to both, we would then have to go back and review over those skills of how do I decide if my answer is positive or negative? Well, here we'll count the negatives. So if I had just one negative here in front of the 30.9, that would make my answer a negative answer because there's one negative. If we had 2 negatives, both numbers were negative, 2 negatives make a positive, so then that would make this a positive 6.18. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another one. Okay, and to throw in the rational portion of it, let's make one of these negative, so we'll go ahead and say this one's negative. Okay, so when we go through to look at these two, we're going to go ahead. I like to do whether it's positive, negative right away. So I know in the end my answer is going to be a negative answer because there's one negative sign. And now I'm going to look at this number as 1,292 times this number is 49. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and multiply like normal. 9 times 2 is 18, carry the 1. 9 times 9 is 81 plus 1 is 82. 9 times 2 is 18 plus 8 is 26. 9 times 1 is 9 plus 2 is 11. Okay, now there's a second number, so I have to remember I have to bring down a 0 and work my way across. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 9 is 36. Carry up a 3 this time. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 3 is 11. Carry up a 1 this time. And then 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So I'll go ahead and add these together. 8, 10, carry the 1, 12, 13, carry the 1, 1, 2, 3, and a 6. So I have for this, I have the digits of 63,308. I now have to go back and count how many numbers were behind original decimals. We had 1, 2, 3 numbers. So I need to do the same thing in my answer. So I need to have 3 numbers. 1, 2, 3. My decimal is going to go right here. So my final answer is 63.308. And that would be a negative because we said it was going to be a negative answer. Okay, so I want you guys to try this one. So you'll pause your video and you'll work your way through this next one. And let's go ahead and make this negative. And that's it. Okay, so go ahead and pause your video and work your way through this problem. Okay, for this one, you should have ended up when you worked your way through it with a negative 21.3894. And make sure that you're showing your work on these. I didn't go through to show the work because I don't need to take the time to do that. If you didn't get that, you're going to want to check with me to see if you can figure out where you made your mistake. You can check through the work that I have on my sample. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and now review division. So when you divide decimals by a decimal number, you have to convert your divisor, which is your outside number or the number that you're dividing by, to a whole number. Then whatever you did to that number, you have to then remember to do to the inside number. So the most common made mistake on these is kids tend to reverse or flip around the way that these are supposed to be written when it comes to a table format. So when you read this, you would read that as 1800ths divided by 3/10. So my 1800ths is really sitting underneath here. And my 3/10 is going to sit on the outside. So the first thing is making sure that you get it set up correctly so that you can do that longhand division. Now my next step is to go ahead and move my decimal so that this becomes a whole number. So here I'm going to move it one spot to get it behind the very last digit. So it's now a 3 on the outside. Whatever I did here, I have to then also do over here. Okay, so I got to move one place. I'm only going to move one place here. So now this is going to become 1.8. Now when we divide, we need to remember to bring our decimal straight up and start the division process. Can 3 go into 1? No. So I'm going to put a 0. And now I'm going to think of this as 18. How many times will 3 go into 18? That would be 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. I have 0 left over, so I'm done. Okay, if that had been a different number where we ended up with a remainder, then we would continue to add zeros and bring them down until we would get a whole, like a number that keeps repeating itself or a terminating decimal number. So let's try another one of those. Okay, so here we have 9 divided by 7.2. So we're going to check our setup on this one. 9 divided by 7.2. Now, lots of times kids will switch that around because they think in their head 72 divided by 9. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move our decimal to make it a whole number of 72. And whatever we did on the outside, we have to do on the inside. So currently there's no decimal on this 9. It means it's right behind there. We're going to go ahead and move one spot and add a 0. Okay, so we end up with 90 on the inside, and our decimal's sitting right here now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that up just in case I need it. All right, 72 can't go into 9, so I'm now going to look at 90. 72 will go into 90 once. 1 times 72 is 72. I go ahead and subtract out, I have 18 left over. I cannot leave a remainder when we're working decimals. So this is an example of, like I had just previously said, where we're going to have to start adding a 0 and bringing it down. So let's see, 72 into 180. An easy way to kind of get at least within one number is to do what they call front end estimation, where you can take that front number and ask how many times it would go into the front two numbers. So 72 would go into 18 twice. Or not 72, sorry. 7 would go into 18 twice, and that would put me at 14. If I did 3 times, that would be 21. That's going to be way too much. So I'm going to try 2. 2 times 72. Now, some kids are able to just multiply it out within our division, and some kids are going to need to write it out like this. You have to do what you need to be successful. So 2 times 2 gives me 4, and 2 times 7 gives me 14. Okay, so now if I go through and I subtract this out, I get a 6 and a 3. So I'm going to add a 0. Okay, 360. So now I'm going to think 7 into 36. So let's see, 7 into 36. Well, 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 5 gives me 35. So let's try 7 times 5. Okay, it's going to get me within 1. If it's not 5, if it's not 72 times 5, then it's going to be either 4 or 6. So 72 times 5. 10, carry the 1, 35, 36. That's exactly what I needed. So we're going to put a 5 in here. 5 times 72 is 360. I'm now done. I have a remainder of 0. So my final answer here would be 1.25. Now, the thing that we're going to add in is maybe now they're going to put a single negative or a negative in front of both of those. So if I had had a negative 9 divided by 7.2, in the end, I would need to make sure that I added a negative to my final answer because there's only one negative sign. Okay, so let's do another one here. Okay, so we've got 345 divided by 15, or sorry, 3.45 divided by 15. Or 0.15, I should say. Okay, that's what it originally looks like. So if we move 2 places to make it a whole number, it becomes 15. Whatever we did on the outside, we have to do to the inside. So 345. And now we're going to go ahead and divide it out. 15 is kind of hard because it's right in the middle of 10 and 20. So when you get those, go through, you could still kind of do that front end estimation, but it's kind of hard when it's right in the middle. So here, oftentimes when I have 15, I think of in terms of time, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So this is going to get me close. 2 of them would put me at 30. Okay, so I have 4 left over, bring down my 5. 15 would go into 45 3 times, which gives me 45. I have nothing left over, I'm done. So here you'll see I didn't even bring my decimal. I probably should have written it here. But whenever it's at the end and there's nothing behind it, it's the same as just saying 23. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull one out here and I want you guys to go ahead, set it up and do the division on it. Okay, so we have 8 divided by 2.2. So you can go ahead and pause your video and set up your problem. Work your way through it, making sure that you're showing your work, and then you can start the video back up and check your answer. You should have ended up with 3.63, and the 6.3 was repeating on that. Okay, that's it for working with multiplying and dividing of decimals. Make sure that you just keep plugging away, remembering that when you multiply, you can look at them as whole numbers, and then add your decimal in the very end by counting the decimal places of the original factors. And with division, you have to move your decimal first so that you can work with whole numbers and that divisor or that front number when you divide. Whatever you do to the outside, you have to also do to that number on the inside or under the division table. Good luck with this one.